what's next for Coastal Carolina? When you look at Tim Beck and what he inherits a program that has a good history of success, and they have found ways to win a lot of football games in recent history. But Jamey Chadwell is gone, and maybe that magic is leaving with him. But Tim Beck has the opportunity to continue what Coastal Carolina has going, which is a pretty good thing. Now, Beck has to get them up and running right away. You lost a couple of players to the transfer portal, and the first game is a road trip to the other coast to face UCLA. That is most likely going to be a loss, a tough way to start your tenure when you're becoming head coach. But he has an opportunity to turn things around. They face Jacksonville State and Duquesne the next two games. Those should be wins. Jacksonville State could be an interesting game to keep an eye on in week two. But this is a team that should be 2-1 heading into conference play. And I don't think that there should be any concerns about what this team can do. It's just a matter of whether or not they can get with this new staff, they can figure out what these schemes are going to be, the offensive, defensive schemes, the coordinators, what they're going to call. They have players returning that can make things happen at a high level. You look at Grayson McCall returning, we'll talk about him more in a little bit. This is a team that can get things done. It's not going to be just falling flat on their face because Jamey Chadwell left. Now, I do think that's a big time loss for them. The fact that they have certain players returning leads me to believe that this team can be just fine. Now, Georgia State is a team that is stingy at times, but we just don't know how tough they're going to be this year. Sean Elliott did a good job for the most part up until last year of getting this program to exceed expectations. So that could be once again true in 2023. Now, a trip to Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern is a completely different team under Helton. I think that you have to look at this is not a triple option team anymore. This is a passing team, an air raid team. Davis Brin comes in from Tulsa. That is going to be a much different team that you face for the foreseeable future. Then the next two games, really the first one is probably the more important one at Appalachian State. That is a game that has been phenomenal the last two games between these two teams. Now, both have kind of taken a step back from the top of the Sun Belt recently, but that is a game that can still be quality entertainment. That's two teams that don't like each other. They are almost, you could say, rivals in a way where they are going to play extremely hard against each other just simply because they don't like each other, because teams are so used to being successful, and neither one of them wants to lose that game. Arkansas State should be a win. I don't think Arkansas State is going to surprise a ton of people. Maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't look like this is a team that's headed in the right direction under Butch Jones. Marshall, another extremely tough team. Marshall is going to be very good this year. Charles Huff is recruiting really well. He has turned that program around into the right direction once again, and they're going to be tough. At Old Dominion, Old Dominion loses a lot of key pieces, including Ali Jennings at wide receiver, Blake Watson at running back. That offense is going to be very different, but it's an offense that can still do some damage with the players that they have returning, just maybe not as tough as they once were. Texas State is an interesting team because you're looking at a different coaching staff. New coaching staff is coming in, an offense that could be extremely explosive. Staff at Incarnate Word was really good at getting their players to exceed expectations. Malik Hornsby is probably going to be the quarterback for Texas State, a really good team in terms of the potential to be even better. Then at Army, Army is always going to provide plenty of obstacles because of the offense that they run. That is a game you just cannot sleep on. You have to prepare really, really hard because it's a unique game that you're not going to see very often. And then to end the year at home against James Madison, that has the potential to be a big game. Now, if Coastal Carolina finds a way to sit at the top of the Sun Belt after this is all said and done, going to be a very tough task for them to do. But if they are, this game means a lot. This game has the potential to have conference title implications. James Madison exceeded expectations in their first year at the FBS level, and Coastal Carolina knows that. This is a schedule to me that has plenty of obstacles. Coastal Carolina has a lot to prove. It's a first year coach trying to lead them to back to the top of the Sun Belt. So that'll be interesting. But the schedule doesn't do too much damage in terms of providing a lot of challenges that they are not expecting. The UCLA game probably is going to be the only guaranteed loss. After that, everything is up for grabs. This is a team with the returners that they have should very much be in this Sun Belt conversation. We talked about Grayson McCall, an absolute phenomenal quarterback for Coastal Carolina. Some of the throws that he's able to make, he's a magician with the football in his hands at times, running option. Now, the one thing I will say, this offense probably looks way different than it once was. You're not going to see this unique RPO offense. You're going to see more of a spread look from Tim Beck. Now, he's probably going to try to utilize the talent as well as Jamey Chadwell did, but it's just going to look different. You're going to see guys lining up in different formations that you're not used to seeing, but maybe the rest of college football is. That was the unique nature of Chadwell's system. You saw different formations, you saw different kinds of option attacks. Grayson McCall returning was probably the biggest thing for this team. If he didn't return, I would probably say this team is probably going to struggle. But with Grayson McCall back, that changes a lot. That gives you a steady hand at quarterback, a veteran leader that can get things going. And when you look at the talent around him, there's a lot to like about this offense, too. Jared Brown is an absolute speedster. I think he is one of the most explosive players in college football. Sam Pinckney also returns at wide receiver. You have many options with both of those guys. Now, Brown can be used as a runner or as a receiver. His speed is something that opens up the field for everybody. When you look at the backfield, CJ Beasley returns. You look at Braden Bennett comes back after an injury-filled season. Reese White returns as White. That's a trio that I think a lot of people sleep on. That is a group that doesn't get enough attention because Coastal Carolina simply doesn't get the love it deserves. This offense should be just fine. I don't have too many concerns other than them learning this new system, figuring things out. The defense could take a little bit of time to get things figured out. Now, a linebacker, just fine. The secondary has a couple guys that you could really get attached to and see why they're going to be really good and step up and make big plays. The defensive line is going to need some time to get things figured out. You lost quite a bit of talent on that, and especially a guy like Josiah Stewart going to Michigan. That is a huge loss for them. The defense is going to have to step up. The offense should be just fine. They should be able to score plenty of points. It's just a matter of can they get the stops. Now, Coastal Carolina is going through a lot of new things, a lot of transitions on both sides of the ball. They're going through a new coaching staff. There's a lot of things they need to figure out. This isn't going to be an easy transition for anyone that goes through a new coach. And Coastal Carolina has to move on from one of the best coaches that they've ever had. That's not an easy person to replace, but they have the talent in place to make it happen. They have veteran leadership that can still make them a good team, that can still make them a contender in the Sun Belt. And it just comes down to whether or not that's going to work, whether or not this team can figure it out, whether or not the coaching staff can find the right pieces to put in place. And with the talent they have returning, I'm excited to see how they handle that. But at the same time, there are some concerns that maybe limit how excited you can get.